Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. As you can see, I am surrounded by my fellow old timers. We're recording on Valentine's Day. I don't think there are two other people I would love to spend more time with than the Professor and the 13th Crusader.
Thank
Guys,
you, Johnny.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you, Johnny.
Yeah.
Likewise to you, gentlemen.
I can't think of anything I would rather be doing on Valentine's Day than share my love for comics with all of you.
As you can tell, our respective partners aren't in the house as we're talking about this. Otherwise, we'd be getting a big elbow. All right. Okay. So let's just keep on the down low. All right. Not too loud. All right. Okay. So we have got a
secret crisis. I love it.
So first things first. Check out the apparel. Are you liking the swag?
I enjoy that greatly. Yeah, look at that.
Look, the old timers. So, guys, this is direct from Teespring. You can order one of these bad boys. The link will be at the bottom of the pod. We'll get the audio guy to do some trickery-pokery. Go and check them out. We've only got the hoodies in at the minute, but if you want some tees, let me know. We'll get some.
Do they come in other colors than gray?
Well, yeah. There's black. The reason the grey and black is predominantly because we've gone for an old school design on the back, so the black and white faded design there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that. There we are. We'll get it sorted in a minute. That's on the back as well, but it's like really large and big, so it really stands off against the grey and the black. But I wouldn't like to say I'm a fashion designer or anything, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think I might go for the black one.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Excellent. So check the link out. Get yourselves one of these bad boys. We should have a slogan that says "I'm not old for wearing this," but tough, we haven't. All right, so it's Valentine's Day. We're talking about loved up couples. All right, so as always, our selection is a little bit esoteric, to say the least. We've got, I suppose, we've got the classic.
I was going to say, you guys' picks might be esoteric, but mine's a little classical.
Well, we've got the classic. 13th has got rid of his normal numbers and gone for a number one. And I've just gone for something that's a little bit spectacular.
Might go for a different number, but always 13 different reasons.
Oh, God. Dude, we only have an hour. See if we can get it done in 13 minutes.
I'll try my best.
All right. Okay. So, what is Valentine's for comic book couples? There can only be one real comic book out there for that first one. And of course, it's going to be the Professor's choice. And we're talking about when I get my stuff together. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. That's better. I can see things now. So we are talking about Action Comics 662. All right. So this is a biggie. I'll go through the creators and stuff. So it's Action 662 or Triangle number 6 from 1991.
The old triangle run.
Good old. I love this triangle run. Prices for this retail currently from anywhere from 95 pence.
Really?
Yeah, it's that low to 6 whole English pounds. It's written by Roger Stern, art by Bob McLeod, letters by Bill Oakley, and colours by Glenn Whitmore. I almost said that name wrong there. Whew, damn glad I didn't make a fool of myself on that one. All right, this is it. This is the big one. It finally happens. Bud, take it up and away. Action Comics.
Well, so first of all, what bigger relationship in comics when you're talking about true love than you get Lois and Clark? Come on. I mean, they don't come any bigger than this. I mean, look at you guys' picks. We'll see. But anyway,
fighting words.
When we were talking a couple of weeks ago about doing a Valentine's Day themed episode for Valentine's Day, how long did it take me to say Action Comics 662? It took me like 2 seconds, right? I knew
13
exactly
seconds.
which took me
0.13 seconds.
0.13 seconds. This to me is the book, and it's all about the cover. I mean, just look at that. That is an iconic cover when you look at as he changes the cover.
Oh, sorry.
That is a great cover. That when I first saw this, I was actually in my very first relationship with someone, and I had foolishly moved away from my family and down somewhere where they weren't. And one of the things that I had to stop doing when I got into a relationship and moved away was stop buying comics.
Really?
And yes, and
Ooh.
it's tough because you had to go cold turkey and everything, and I had a lot of difficulty. When this book came out, I actually saw it in a supermarket on a wire rack and like a spinner, and that the cover jumped out at me because it was that classic, Lois, Carrie Gamble, who I think is super underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect cover with her, the surprise, and then the reflection in the glasses of the classic Superman pulling his shirt open. I bought it. I like had whatever it was, $1.50 in my pocket, and decided to get that comic. Yeah,
save yourself 25 cents and buy this. Okay.
yeah, I know it hasn't appreciated too much, but this book, and he spends, of course. They were engaged. Lois and Clark were engaged, and Clark hadn't told her yet that he was Superman, and so that was the drama of the issue, was how does he tell her? And of course, right when he's about to say it, he gets attacked by the Silver Banshee, who is also, I think, a very underrated Superman villain.
Definitely.
And they bring in Blaze, who at this point was one of the bigger baddies in the Diamond run here, or the Triangle run.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that, and this also just seems extra, just for them to fill the issue until the reveal on the final page. And that, I mean, that's why you bought the book. You bought the book for the reveal. And I think it was built up, it was built up excellently by Roger Stern throughout this issue. You had Lois with the worried about Clark, without having really a clue that he was Superman. It brought so many decades of continuity, into that one moment where he has the reveal. And since then, this book was 30 years. This might even be 30 years this month. 30 years.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
About right. Yeah.
30 years. And they're still going strong. They never really have that much of a, drama in their marriage. You've seen, maybe arguably, comparatively, but look at the marriages that were in place in comics at this time that are no longer, right?
Yeah.
So Lois and Clark are the kind of the ones that have been, you maybe Reed and Sue, right? That's about it.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, Spidey and MJ, no. Barry and Iris, no.
Yeah.
Barry was gone for 30 years.
Yeah, that's definitely no. Even when he's come back, it's a no. Bruce and Darkness, yes. Yeah, you're pretty much right. I can't think of anyone that kind of has stayed the course for the majority.
Well, and I want to say that this, I think that this moment was made possible because of the post-crisis reboot, right? Because previously, I think Superman was so strong and so powerful that I don't think that they could have ever really done a relationship level on that level in the Silver Age. But here, where they kind of, Superman was kind of depowered a little bit here. You can see like how vulnerable he is to magic, even still to this day, where previously really hadn't been. But Silver Banshee cleans his clock for sure. And and then he gets in with Blaze again before before he's saved, pretty much. Has to be rescued.
Yeah.
And that to me, this is kind of the Superman that I was turned on to. I wasn't really a DC fan until Legends and like Crisis and all that. And
Okay.
and remember, I've never really gone back to read a lot of that Silver Age DC stuff because I found a lot of it to be really kind of inaccessible, right?
Yeah.
Too way confusing to try to figure out.
Yeah.
Here,
Shout.
when I had that was a perfect jumping on point for me. I usually say someone's jumping on point is a good jumping off point. But here in like 1985, when we had Legends this was a weekly Superman story, right? At this point, because you had like 4 different titles and the fifth one on leap weeks, right? So you actually had Superman every week. I actually loved the continuing storyline of Superman because they did build it in the drama, and they were able to instill a lot of the like a soap opera stuff, just like they did in Spider-Man. Like go ahead, jump in.
This is a great point because you're absolutely right. It's basically one continuous story, not told over 22 pages, but told over what's 4 times 22? 88 pages every month at least. So you were getting 88 pages of a Superman story. Yes, admittedly, the writers were different, and yes, the artists were slightly different as well. But the overall theme throughout those 88 pages would be exactly the same, and they would continue on. So it's not like 88 and done. It's like 88 plus the next 88 plus the next, and so on and so forth. For me, I love the triangle era of Superman. I think it's vastly underrated.
I think so, and it was event driven too, right? So you had the Superman reveal, and then they had the wedding, and then they had the death of Superman, and then they had
I don't. Do you agree with that? 13th. I don't, because I remember these books back in the day. Superman was not that big. The wedding wasn't as good as the Spider-Man wedding, which, by the way, was at Shea Stadium. Go Yankees, not Yankees. Go Mets. Boo Yankees. Boo. All right. Okay. So.
I wasn't fascinated by either, but
I'm gonna shout out shout out Mike Carlin here, because Mike Carlin had his finger on the pulse of the media, right? And he hoarded out all those Superman stories. Every time there was a big event, it ended up in USA Today, or it ended up, and this was before social media, right? So this was, I was picking up the newspaper. I was picking up the Boston Herald in 1990 and 1991 and 1992. And I was reading about what was happening in Superman because it was in the entertainment section. Like it actually had a write-up in the paper. And I was like, how the hell are they, and that was the only comic book that was getting mainstream publicity, was this is what they're doing in Superman.
Perhaps the death of Robin and Death of the Family also got that attention as well.
I might have missed that at the time, but every time, and it was every time I was reading in the paper about what was going on in Superman, there was a blurb by Mike Carlin, so I knew that he was just hammering the press. And I thought it was impressive, because I was like, wow, man, and this was the first time I was seeing like mainstream attention to a comic book about what was going on. You wouldn't see that today, really.
No, the news events of comic books have kind of dwindled, purely, I think, because they're
same for newspapers, of course.
Yeah, of course, but it's diminishing returns. The last time I saw a comic book story hit the newspaper was the death of Captain America. But at the bottom, we all know Cap's coming back. So it's fine.
But I mean, I remember seeing this cover to this book in the paper, because they were like, Lois finds out who Superman is, and this was back. I think Lois and Clark was still on TV at this point.
Well, this is an interesting point that you bring up, and we'll get into that just after this. So,
all right,
13th. What do you think? It's all right. No, go for it. I love your passion. It's like I don't see this passion when you talk about Marvel books. Now you like this all over the DC book.
Because we're talking about old stuff. I love it.
And he was struck by Cupid's arrow too.
Yeah,
long time ago, but
probably had a thing for Terry Hatcher. He's not denying it. He's not denying it. Look at that. All right, okay. 13th. What do you think? 662.
The first thing, that I saw in here was an advertisement that made me feel old. In here, there's an advertisement for the New York Penta Hotel for a comic book convention in New York City. That put at time and a place. That was my first comic book convention I had ever been to.
Really?
Yes. So that was the first time I ever went to that. I went with Al Mega, of course. So I remember going to that, and for landmark purposes, that's right by Madison Square Garden. So it was an awesome, awesome, awesome time. And I remember, walking around and just being lost in the books. So I've been to conventions with you, bud. So you know what that's
Yeah.
like. I'm next to you 1 second, and then I disappear, and I'm
Yep.
somewhere in the middle of a comic book bin. So that made me feel old. I'm like, oh my God, that's 30 years ago.
Sniffing the ink.
Yep.
Exactly. As far as this book, I remember this on the newsstands as well. I did buy this for $1. Back then, I'm like, man, the comics are $1, but how's that working out now? The tales right on the cover, where I'm like, wow, the art isn't phenomenal throughout the book, cover art, interior art. I mean, with a look like that, I'm glad she just pulled his glasses, but yeah, so it's a pretty simple story. Yeah, to Bud's point, the relationship in general was decades long in the making. So inevitably, this was going to happen. Why DC took so long? Well, that's a story for another time. With all the crises and multiple Earths and different people in Clark's life. Same for Lois. Here you get kind of a confirmation of Superman's vulnerabilities to magic, but I would say that he was very vulnerable to the magical love from Lois. Get it? No? Okay, whatever. Screw you guys. Right? Because earlier you said that Silver Age Superman, he was virtually indestructible, moving planets. How could he have a relationship with Lois? He'll kill her.
Right. Yeah.
So if the love is magical and magic depowers him, now it makes sense. So, anyways, bad joke.
Jokes aren't that funny when you have to explain them. You know that, right? That's like the first rule of comedy. Don't explain the joke.
It's okay.
That's okay. Cool. Just saying.
Yeah. And then obviously, as the cover will tell you what's about to, and for those who were following Superman in chronological order, you knew this was coming. It wasn't a secret. And of course, you bought the comic primarily for the last panel where he finally reveals to her who he is. I mean, it's like this whole entire time, all he had to do was take off his glasses. The fact that the Screaming Mimi shows up, I mean, Silver Banshee shows up to his house. Yeah. You saw what I did there? And basically it's like, oh, you're not him, really? So, it's like at this point, I remember when I bought this, I'm like, the gag's up. Like, really? Everybody knows he's Superman, the readers, but here you are. She shows up and leaves thinking that he's someone else. We could make fun of this all day, but, this was a pivotal moment in Superman history, and it has carried on to Bud's point. Blaze, though, is a character that has interested me for a while. Daughter of Satanus, if I remember that off the top of my head. So, yeah, Superman involved in the supernatural during this era, too, was kind of a different take. So I did like that. But yeah, this had to happen. And I guess the biggest takeaway, again, Roger Stern, we've said this before, is severely underrated writer. And
definitely.
Bob McLeod's art in here, I absolutely love it.
Well, you bring an interesting point up with the art. This is probably the last Swan song of Kurt Swan's style. See what I did there?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, cool. This is the definitive house style of Superman, isn't it? Before he gets his mullet and before everything changes, before he goes red, before he goes blue, and all that other stuff. Yeah. This is pretty much Superman how we have expected him to be. Looking through this book for me, I was thought bubbles. Look at them. They've got thought bubbles. Whatever happened to thought bubbles? Who?
Joe Quesada happened to thought bubbles.
Well, I mean, thought bubbles. Look at them. Loads of the damn things. But it's fine. There is a lot going on in this story. It isn't just about the big reveal, which for me, looking through it this morning, it's been a while since I looked at this book, and I got to the last page, and it was like pull the Cam Newton. I was like, is that it? but there's some stuff going on with Lex. There's obviously the magic stuff that was ongoing. I just want to say how much Lois has changed. Because up to about the last, if you think from 91 at least, from say like 89 to 91, she pretty much changed from being this kind of woman always in trouble, in jeopardy, damsel in distress type. And she actually started becoming a proper reporter. Yet she still didn't manage to twig out this secret, which is just bonkers. That's like saying Commissioner Gordon's such a great police officer, but he doesn't know that Bruce Wayne's Batman. He's probably the only person in the world that doesn't know that right now, but still.
What threw me off here too is like, why the hell did he stand by the window to do this?
Yeah. we got another thing about windows coming up later, I'm sure. But story-wise, with the villain and stuff, it is pretty much as you go. Bud's bang on right. Superman's a little bit depowered for this era, which I think makes him more accessible to readers. But I stand by it. I think for me, the Triangle era, when you've got people like Stern, you had people like Dan Jurgens, Louise Simonson, John Bogdanova, all creating this kind of ongoing mass storyline. And don't forget, this is a year before Doomsday even started. All right, so you've still got that to come. For me, this era, this is my Superman. I really love this Superman. So there you go. Good choice, bud. Good choice.
Thank you very much.
Right, okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go with Mike's choice.
Sweet.
It's a classic. You better get out all your savings for this one. That's all I'm saying. Because it comes with a price. So whilst you're counting up your pennies from your piggy bank, why don't you check out this ad from one of our other shows from the UCPN? Right, okay, there you go. We're back on the Old Timers Comic Book Show. We're looking at love couples, or couples in love, when it comes to comic books. We've already had the quintessential power couple. 13, you've got a totally different style, I believe. Let me get the comic up so everyone can have a look at what we're talking about. We are talking about this bad boy. This is Flash Comics #1, costing a whopping great. Is that 10 cents? Whoa, I wish it was 10 cents. So this book is an anthology book. It features the Flash story, Hawkman, Johnny Thunder, The Whip, and Cliff Cornwell. Flash #1 from 1940. At a 2010 auction, this book sold for $450,000. So in UK terms, that's £345,690.
Otherwise
known as a fortune.
Yeah. So, dude, should we all just like chip in and see what we can get? Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, not a fortune, but it's affordable comparatively to some of the other Golden Age offerings.
All right, I'll give you that. It probably is in comparison, but I don't know.
Like Action 1, forget it. Yeah.
Detective 27. Yeah. All right, so we're talking primarily as though there's a Flash story in here. It's the Hawkman you want to talk about. Is that right, 13?
That is correct.
All right. So the Hawkman story, I had to do some digging. Written by Gardner Fox. Is it art by Dennis Neville? Or
Neville.
Neville. Oh, yeah. I was being posh.
It's Neville, damn it.
All right, yeah, fair Neville. But in that case, it's Marvel, not Marvel. However, come on.
I'm good with that.
Okay, cool. 13, this is your choice. Take it away.
Yeah, so the reason why I picked this book is just to go back to the very beginning of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. And if you're doing your research out there, this is where it really started. So obviously the Golden Age, which this history pretty much became part of the Earth 2 Golden Age era of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. So out of curiosity, it's like, yeah, why not give it a whirl and read it? So, you know, I'm much more of a fan of Silver Age than I am of Golden Age, but sometimes when doing research and what have you, yeah, I'll dabble into Golden Age. So the tale, I just wanted to read it in its simplicity, the way it really came out. So Carter Hall, of course, an archaeologist, pretty much has a dream thanks to a relic from ancient Egyptian times, kind of induces him into sleep. So he has a dream of a past life. So stop me if you heard this before, because that part of his history has pretty much remained with Hawkman as well as Hawkgirl, with their many ventures and past experiences and reincarnation and what have you. They've lived other lives, but they stay true to form. And basically, in this Golden Age tale, that still sticks as to why. So basically, a rival a priest and him, pretty much the priest kills him. But before that even settles in, Prince Kofu, as he's referred to in this timeline, invokes a curse that he's always going to come back until he can prove himself victorious over that false priest, as he calls him. But in the tale, of course, Shaira existed during that era as well, and he was in love with her. That was they were together. So through the ages, they've reincarnated, and in this Golden Age tale, during this time, he actually runs into her. What a coincidence!
It's like a Craig David video.
Yeah. So, you see Hawkman, don the costume for the first time, with all the nth metal, which we all know how Johnny loves nth metal now. But
hey, I love nth. Hey, I don't mind nth metal, but in this book, it's called ninth metal.
Exactly.
But as long as it's not Batmanium, I'll be all right.
Batmanium, yeah, exactly.
That will make me lose my
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, again, Hawkman finds the reincarnation of the false priest, and they obviously have bad intentions towards each other, and they battle. And Shaira did not become Hawk Woman or Hawk Girl yet, but she is in this book, and she is pretty much entranced by the reincarnated priest, and Hawkman saves her. It's very, very simple origin for Hawkman. In looking at this now, it's like, wow, Hawkman has really survived. So, it's been 81 years now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he has really gone through so many different retcons, origin changes, characters involved, but sticking to the Golden Age Hawkman and Hawkgirl, through the years. You can see their tales in All-Star Squadron, a team that we mentioned in a previous episode. They did have a kid, Hector Hall, who was a Silver Scarab, right? We talked about him when he came through with the Infinity Inc.
And he's been Dr. Fate as well.
And Sandman.
Yeah.
So
dude, he's been around.
Yeah, literally. And he's gone through the reincarnation thing as well. But sticking to his parents, they've tried to keep it simple with the Earth 2. Makes sense. Founding member of the Justice Society. These two were always intertwined one way or another. And in later years, of course, in the JSA, it was a little bit more sophisticated, but nonetheless a phenomenal read.
Yeah.
So, again, an alternative to what Bud said earlier with Superman and Lois, which I agree with, it's probably the most popular. I just wanted to shed some light on Hawkman and Hawkgirl and their origin of their origin, if you will.
Cool. So looking through this book, I absolutely loved it. I love that. I love the style of art. I love the kind of stuff from the late 30s, early 40s. It twings a string in my heart. It does. It's a little bit Flash Gordon, Shaira does look like Dale Arden, which is probably for the best when you consider Flash Gordon was the biggest pull in town. What I was surprised at was that, and I know we don't talk about cross media that much, but DC Legends of Tomorrow, Hawkman and Hawkgirl or Hawkwoman are prime players in that, especially during the first season. And I was really impressed reading this book how much of the original stuff DC Legends took from this book to transfer over to the TV show. I do think that Hawkman has suffered through too many retcons and too many reboots. I think it's a lot more complicated than it actually needs to be. And that's not disputing the fact that the Tim Truman book Hawk World was gorgeous. That was perfect. That was a really good book.
Agreed.
But that's not this. This isn't Hawk. That wasn't Hawkman. But then, of course, it gets a little bit convoluted. My personal favorite Hawk Girl is Kendra from the Justice Society Secret Origins book. I think she's been in a Jeopardy years ago when we talked about whose character was introduced by committing suicide. The reason I liked her was because she kind of had a different love interest in Red Arrow or Speedy, which kind of made her more interesting rather than docile. Oh, I must follow my destiny and be with Hawkman.
Red Arrow is a much more reputable name than Speedy, of course.
Well, of course. This is before it was Arsenal.
Check me out now.
Yeah. That's a different thing for a different Valentine show. If you go by the name of Arsenal,
going back to this origin, like I said, it was simpler. So sometimes, for some fans out there, they will say that his origin or their origins are very confusing. Yeah. But sometimes you just got to simplify it and then, take a step back. The relationship has definitely been intact. I was doing more research and of course, there was a story with Hawkman in Flash Comics 23 where he met a talking bird called Old One Eye. So I don't know how we explain that to Hawkgirl and stuff, but other than that, I guess their relationship has been pretty stable.
Yeah, there's another
joking right over your heads, but anyway.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I chose to ignore it. Well done. When you said one eye, you meant the Cycloptean bed python. I knew what you were talking about. But save us from this.
Well, I think
laden conversation.
So we talked about the character of like Hawkgirl and like Hawkwoman. I mean, they're all the same character, in different realities. Where I kind of feel like now, when you think of like a Hawkgirl or a Hawkwoman as a character, you think of a powerful woman character. And this here, when you're looking at Golden Age stories, they are kind of trapped in the time that they were written, right? So you're not looking when you're reading this and you see Shara for the first time, you're not looking for a powerful woman character. You're looking for window dressing, someone that's in the background or invisible until they need to use her as the plot device because she gets captured by the bad guy, and Hawkman has to save her. And that's not a detriment to this book because it happens across across comics in the 30s, 40s, 50s. The women characters are basically relegated to the plot device. So
even if you want to take as far back as probably the first massive female character that people would probably be aware of is the Invisible Girl from the Fantastic Four.
Or Wonder Woman.
Or Wonder Woman. And even Sue Richards.
Yeah.
Or Sue Storm.
That's her power to become invisible.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? That's kind of like, that's the ultimate metaphor. Thou shalt not be seen. Boof, invisible powers.
Right. Right.
And of course, Wonder Woman for her early time was fighting against the whole dominance of males. So both characters are hugely reflective of the times.
Yeah, I mean, Wonder Woman was like an unbelievable wet dream for a man in the 40s for the bondage aspects and the kink and all that stuff. That and that wasn't even like that wasn't even hidden or hinted at. That was like every cover you see her, she's strapped to a torpedo with her own rope, with her own lasso.
And Hawkman here is coming up with a quarterstaff. So
yeah, it's just like a euphemism. I'm strapped to a torpedo.
Right. Yes, it is. It's a metaphor.
I have a quarterstaff, but here's my dagger.
So
remember when I dream.
But I like 13's pick here because it does kind of shine a light on kind of like relationships in general in comics.
Yes,
so it is a good shout. I like this pick.
Yeah, it was a good call, good pick. Well, you also got to remember about Flash Comics #1. It features not 1, not 2, not 3 if you count Hawkgirl, but 4 different future Justice Society of America members. There you go.
Yeah.
So there. So it's a biggie, all right. No wonder it's worth its price in dollars and pounds.
You look at it's $100,000 a piece for each first appearance. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
I wouldn't pay that much for Johnny Thunder. Like, I've got to be honest.
it's buy 3 get 1 free.
Yeah.
We'll throw Johnny Thunder in there.
We'll throw him in for just for the giggles. All right.
Iconic cover, obviously, for this.
Oh, I mean, this cover was for those who are into recent covers. This is the cover by which the lenticular covers were used a couple of years back for the Button storyline, which is a crossover between Batman and the Flash. All right, so and of course it's been used a gazillion times in homage. So,
have any of you ever seen this book in person?
No.
Okay.
Have you?
Yeah, but from afar, like very afar.
Do you own this book?
No. Hell no.
Oh, see.
No.
Nah. It's a great book. It is a great book, and I love Golden Age Flash as well. So
same here.
It's a win-win all the way around.
Another great relationship with Jay and Joan Garrick, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stay off the hard vapors, man.
It's history, man. It's history. You have to love the history.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So my turn. Okay. So I went to all these different routes that everybody will think of. Well, unless you know me pretty well, you will have no idea what I'm talking about. First up, I'm going to give you, for your delectation, this comic to have a look at. There you go. What's so special about this comic? I hear somebody ask.
What is it about this comic, Johnny?
It's like we planned that. We didn't plan it. This is the first appearance of Peter Parker's true love in Deborah Whitman.
In her own mind?
No, she's actually in here. She's sitting behind a desk.
No, but Peter Parker's true love in her own mind.
No, it's a true love. It's the way it works.
Yes.
For those who are wondering who I'm talking about, I've just gone past it. Super speed style. Where is it? I've just gone past it. There she is, Deborah Whitman. There you go. Now, this isn't the book we're going to talk about, so you'll be pleased to know. We are, though, going to talk about actually her end rather than her beginning. So we're talking about...
Wait, what do you mean?
What?
You said her end.
Yeah. So this is what we're talking about.
Are we talking about fishnets again?
No,
God, you guys are horrible. Tough crowd today. Tough crowd.
All right. Spectacular 74. Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, number 74. This is written by Bill Mantlo, art by Bob Hall, ink by Jim Mooney, letters by Diana Albers, colors by Bob Sharon. Love the cover. Just want to say, out there. Right. So who wants to start us off? Before I argue.
I mean, other than this, actually looks like my librarian porn fantasy that I had a couple of weeks ago.
What? I should.
Well, that's throwing the book at it.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Okay, all right. So I will go. I will go.
But you're on MPP. It's a Marvel book.
I will go. And let me say that this is the first time I've ever read this comic. I've never read the run of Peter Parker, and I'm ashamed to say when you keep bringing up Deborah Whitman, I'm like, I kind of knew who it was, but I never knew if I like read any comics with her in it, and really didn't know that Peter and Deborah had a relationship. But here now, this book actually interested me when I was reading it because it is really kind of more about mental illness, really, than it is about a relationship between the two of them. Yep. Because she's figured out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but she doesn't even really believe it herself, right? She's talking to her shrink in here. Thank goodness for doctor-patient confidentiality, because she basically lays out who Peter Parker is, Spider-Man, but really doesn't really believe it herself. And we find out through this book that that Peter kind of is put up to maybe kind of masquerading as Spider-Man in front of her to kind of shock her to her senses, which is in the end exactly what happens. Where Peter actually says, I'm just going to really do it. I'm going to really just show her, take the mask off, and I'm going to show her who I am. And he does. And then she says, oh, you're such a great friend for doing that. Now I don't believe that you're Spider-Man. And then she leaves. So I actually liked the fact, because you kind of get into that she already kind of had a boyfriend. Like there was more people interested in Deborah Whitman in this book than anybody's ever been interested in Gwen or Mary Jane. She's in a relationship with Biff Rifkin, who's the funniest name in Spider-Man comics I think I've ever seen.
No, Biff, you get your goddamn hands off of her.
Yeah, right. And then to find out that she was already married, I didn't know that. So that was interesting to me, that she's kind of mixing it up with Biff, is pining away for Peter, but married still. So this is kind of a different relationship I think we've ever really seen in comics. I know it's the late 70s, the swinging 70s, but it was kind of a little weird for me. So but this book, I think this book was really good. Oh, plus we have Black Cat running around too. So
yeah, so there you go. There's the second part of this, is the fact that once you get rid of one love,
right?
Bingo.
So I think there was a lot going on in here. And I really I did enjoy the book, because it was kind of like just kind of dropping me in the middle of the story. And it didn't take me long to catch up and figure out what was going on. And I did kind of really feel bad for Deborah towards the end of the book. And I kind of felt for her. Yeah. And good. But it turns out, it's almost like you kind of feel like she got a happily ever after at the end when she got on the bus and went back home.
Cool.
So
she gets a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Thank you for making me read that.
Making you like I had a gun to your head or something. Read the book.
Hashtag bring back Deborah Whitman. Oh, yeah. Hey, did she appear after this?
Yeah, she after One More Day.
She's made cameos left and right.
Prior to, as part of the Civil War thing, when Peter takes off his mask and reveals to the world that he's Spider-Man, she writes a tell-all book as Spider-Man's girlfriend, and causes a bit of a furore at the time. But obviously, One More Day wipes everybody's memories, so she's gone back to not knowing.
And she's pretty prominent in the animated series, the 90s one.
Yes,
she's all over the place
for exactly the same storyline as well. So
exactly,
really
right.
Cool.
I didn't know. Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
sorry.
I didn't know. I didn't know making everybody forget that he was Peter negated the fact of a published book.
Hey, it's Mephisto. What you expect?
Interesting. Okay.
13th. Go on. Now, before 13th goes bonkers at me, I will say, as a precursor, take everything he says with a pinch of salt because he's got a Gwen thing going on. All right. So whenever he says, when I say Deborah Whitman, he's going to come back with Gwen. So that's how it works. All right. Just bear that in mind. Now that I've said that, 13th, tell us what you think about this book.
I'm going to start off with my favorite panel when right before he reveals he's Peter Parker to Deborah Whitman. Right above that, there is a panel with Gwen Stacy. So,
yeah,
just wanted to point that out. But I have
Where's
no
the
qualms.
mute button on this thing?
I have no qualms with Deborah Whitman. This era of Spectacular Spider-Man, when I was a kid, I first started collecting Spider-Man via Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. So, in fact, several issues later is when I really jumped in as a kid. So this goes back slightly, before that time. But I was aware who Deborah Whitman was. And obviously, I worked my way backwards to find out more about Spider-Man. So delving back into this run brought back a lot of memories. And the first thing I want to say is Bill Mantlo. How many times have we mentioned this guy already?
Oh man,
yeah.
It's surprising. It's surprising how often we see the same names.
Right.
Mantlo, Conway,
Roger Stern,
Roger Stern. Engelhart. These are names that just we're constantly coming across them, and it's not because we're huge, massive fans of them. It's just that at the time, these were the guys that were writing the books. If we do this show in 30 odd years' time, we'll be talking about Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Bill Mantlo, Micronauts, Rom, you name it, he's done some phenomenal stuff. But the one thing I want to point out, though, the Bob Hall art, phenomenal. I love it. The cover, of course, here for this tale, probably one of the best drawn Deborah Whitman images I've ever seen, especially for this era. So it brought me back. I always wondered why the Spider-Man that's tugging on her glasses couldn't get it off, or the glass is so heavy. But anyways, moving on with the story.
I'm just going to go past that joke as well. I'm wondering why
He's like, how heavy are these glasses? Man,
I'm going to blow that one off. All right, okay. So I want to know where the Spider-Man hanging off the logo, where his legs are.
Yeah. But this is it's a soap opera like this. You're talking like the 70s through the early 80s. This was like full swing soap opera. So much has happened to Spider-Man. But what I remember from this, right, because my first Spectacular Spider-Man books were a little bit later in the run. So the gang war with Dr. Octopus and the Owl was something like really like captured my attention. Like, wow, two villains are like in a gang war, and then Kingpin's in the middle, and then there's Who's This and Black Cat. But there was a lot going on. But to see this book really focus on Deborah Whitman, again, was very revealing for someone who may not have even known what like in Bud's case, might not have even known fully what was going on. So she had a lot of stuff. Happening, tragic.
Biff Rifkin could have been Flash Thompson if you're looking at the page.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. But it's just funny, like reading this now, how everybody and their mother knows who Spider-Man is. Like, this is from an era where no one knows who Spider-Man is, and then here you are. He's like, crap, what do I do? But you know what? He's so loyal as a friend that he's willing to do this, and that's something that shouldn't be missed in this era. Now it's like he's running. Look at the movies. He's just unmasked half the time. But again,
there's that.
Yeah. So but it just shows you that even though this relationship didn't evolve into something more, it just shows the core friendship that has remained. And you see that in the books, obviously after, and in the animation, they did that very, very well. But other than the Gwen panel, obviously you showed it earlier, the last page with the Black Cat.
That again?
Classic last panel with the Black Cat. That was the era of Spider-Man that I was introduced to.
Black
And
Cat panel. Let's see. Boom, boom.
yeah, and
I love
that
that panel with Spider-Man there. I think
yeah,
that panel's great.
that panel is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And what happens afterwards for like the next 20, 30 issues or so with her in this run. Obviously, you can add on the Amazing Spider-Man and what have you. It's historic.
Mm.
You know,
It's
having a
good book.
female companion that can keep up with him is in a superhero life.
Well, I think Felicia was more of a relationship for Spider-Man than she
Correct.
was for Peter, and that was the different spin on that,
Right.
and a different spin on relationships in comics in general. Because usually
Mm.
the love interest is always the alter ego. They never have the love interest actually be for the hero unless it's Lois and Superman.
Yeah. And she
but
loves them both.
right.
What sort of example is she set?
But to your point earlier, I think that the main thing in like reading this, it just highlights what Deborah Whitman went through. This was about her. This is her
Yeah.
book. So we see all these
Yeah.
other great characters in the Spectacular Spider-Man run, but this was her book. And this comic cover, whenever you think Deborah Whitman, this is the first thing that's going to pop up.
Yeah, cool. All right, so for me, I am a big Deb Whitman fan. I have banged on about her for so long. I am so glad that we had an opportunity to talk about her. I think looking back now, I applaud Marvel for trying to talk about mental health, and also try to talk about women in relationships that aren't good for them, for abused relationships. It's all in here. It's all part of Deborah's story. I think Peter Parker's a bit of a heel for most of Deborah's relationship with him. Biff absolutely nails it that Deb sees Peter as some sort of hero, but really he doesn't pay attention. He's inconsiderate. He keeps running out, obviously because he's Spider-Man. And of course, the big crux of the matter is that she knows the truth. And he keeps denying it and denying it and denying it until he has to show her the truth just to try and help her. Question would be if he'd shown her earlier, what would have been the outcome? Some of the things I like about this, I think I've just mentioned it. I love that panel where they stood in the balcony, shadow there. Another balcony, 13th. What is it about balconies and identities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love that panel there where you see Peter Parker's face, the classic Peter Parker face. And of course, it's still one down here where the text says, "Hey, wait, I wonder what happens if Deb asks the question, how did I manage to get onto a balcony?" That's the sort of crazy stuff I think of. Like, how do you get there? How should not think about this?
Well, on that very same page, you see in the corner, he's upside down on the roof ledge, but still with the web. Why would you need that if you could stick to the surface?
Yeah, it's a style choice.
We can go with that if you want, sure.
I always wondered about Spider-Man's web anyway, because if it doesn't dissolve for an hour and it's super sticky, how can he even let go of it? So, but anyway,
I have a question about Cinderella's shoe, in that it fits perfectly when Prince Charming finds her, but if the shoe fit perfectly, how did it fall off in the first place?
Yeah, that's
But back to this book.
Well, blame Mephisto. Blame Mephisto for everything.
Yeah. Mephisto did it. Yeah. So this book hasn't aged too bad actually. You can get it for around £3 to £10. I am pleased to say that I bought my copy off eBay. There you go. This week arrived in time for the pod. Decent little copy. I paid £3 for this. There's got some spine roll on the side there, which I'm hoping the comic book bag board will help get rid of. But there you go.
Very nice.
I quite like that. So
the ink from that year was really good.
Peter Parker. There's a lot going on. There's the gang war. There's the thing. So you know what? It's Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, is a thinking person's Spider-Man book.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
If you want your action pieces and like just the normal stuff, go read Amazing. Amazing's like the summer blockbuster. Go and watch the Spectacular Spider-Man is like the indie film.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Spectacular Spider of this era, fantastic. Cloak and Dagger makes their appearance in Spectacular Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how dark they can be. So there you go. Cool. There you go. Three great books to choose from. Go check them out, all at different price points. So count up your pennies. Which one's most important to you? Deborah Whitman. Just saying. All that's left for me to say, I guess, is to thank the professor for his time. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Johnny, for the invite, as always.
As always. And 13, thank you for joining us. And
My absolute pleasure.
And not ripping into Deborah for not being Gwen, which is always appreciated. Thank you.
Oh, that's for backstage after the show.
Is it? Oh, great. have to do something about that.
You still haven't sold me on Deborah Whitman, but this is a great book, though.
Cool. All right. So don't forget to check the UCPN for all your other favorite podcasts, including Professor
No Prize Podcast,
which talks all about Marvel.
About Marvel Comics.
Yeah, and hopefully you can get Nick Spencer, because he's brought every other character back in Spider-Man. We can get Nick Spencer to bring back Deb Whitman.
Maybe. I mean, he's running out of characters to bring back. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. And of course, we've got the TDC, the Definitive Crusade, where we will be talking all about DC Comics. I believe 13th, you have a guest appearance coming up shortly, correct?
Something like that.
Yes. Where you heading?
A 13-second cameo.
On where?
The international, the ICC podcast. I like the acronyms like Alex.
Yeah. So that's the International Comic Crusaders podcast. Go check that out. We're going to kick 13th out so we can go and promote the hell out of
cameo.
us. Yeah, 13 minutes. You don't do anything in 13 seconds. Well, apart from one thing.
Yeah, when I read that Whitman comic book, it's a 13-second read.
On that note, this is Johnny the Machine Hughes saying adios.
See ya.